All right, and we are back in Timberborn, and today I want to spend a little bit of time cleaning up our town, because this was sort of built in a very haphazard way, just sort of plopping down buildings and farms and fields and things wherever there was room, and it's not very efficient, it's not very cleanly laid out, and it doesn't look very nice. So I think we are going to spend today cleaning it up. Now, in order to do that, we're going to do some temporary work here. We're going to go ahead and increase the number of planks we're producing. We'll pause on gears, but generate some additional paper if we have the workers for it, which we do. And I think we also want to make this a priority and make it a little bit more efficient. So we're going to invest some of the science we have into additional power generation. Now, over here in power, we do have the large windmill and the gravity battery. And I think that that is where we are going to spend those points. So we'll go ahead and purchase the large windmill and set up 2 of those, and then we will also purchase the gravity batteries. Now, the gravity batteries are really nice because what they're going to let us do is sort of bank up the power that we're generating from our windmills and use them for covering work that needs to be done when the wind isn't blowing. And it'll also mean that the windmills can generate power at night, and that can be stored up so that if they're still during the day, for example, like right now, that they could still be running. Let's go ahead and connect up all of these buildings with power shafts as well. And that should give us greatly improved plank production, which will lead to some additional, hopefully some better outcomes. Let's prioritize our first gravity battery and our first large windmill, as well as the power shafts surrounding them. All right, let's go ahead and get this built, and then we'll turn our attention to beautifying and to improving the rest of our town. All right, our first gravity battery is built. It can store 6,000 horsepower hours, which is great, because that should give us plenty of power to essentially run these all the time. I don't think we even need this water wheel anymore, so we'll be able to tear that down in order to either bridge across the river here and expand, or just reclaim those resources as we see fit. And there we can see at night the wind started blowing, and the gravity battery was able to sort of raise its load in order to buffer. And so during the day, as that lowers, these buildings can run even though the windmills aren't generating any power. So that's the purpose of these gravity batteries. And it looks like one gravity battery is just about enough for what we have here. So these other ones may be a little bit extraneous, but we'll go ahead and leave them there. I think, if we cancel these, yes. So if we cancel them, we actually get full resources back. Once they're built, if we try and destroy them, we get reduced resources. So we'll leave that one in place there. But that should greatly increase the speed at which we're able to make planks, which will help with our other construction projects. Now, we also want to make things more efficient in terms of buildings and how they're working. And another area I've identified some fairly substantial inefficiency is in our science production. See, we are using these 7 inventors, which run at 1 science per hour and use 1 beaver to do the work. If we look at the science tab, we've got the observatory built. Now, the observatory uses power and will employ 4 beavers, but will generate 10 science in 45 minutes. So about 13.333 science per hour. Repeating, of course. That means that we can go ahead and set up an observatory over here and connect it up to our existing power infrastructure. And we will be able to, with 4 beavers, actually create almost twice as much science with about half as many workers as we had before. So we can go ahead and get that set up. Do that. And what that means is that we can then take down these inventors back here, reclaim the wood that was used for them, and free up the beavers who are working at these places for other tasks. All right. Now, the next thing I want to do is clean up our pathing system. In particular, we have several places where we have loop structures here, and this is inefficient from a technical perspective. Now, this is something that Timberborn handles well, but in general, if we're going to be building a large sprawling colony, we want to avoid places where the path loops back on itself. We're going to want sort of a central trunk that branches off. And so an example of one of these loops is right here. We actually have a loop that circles around this way, and then another smaller one here. Now, the issue is that when a beaver decides to go from their house, for example, over to perhaps this tapper's hut, it needs to decide a path to get there, and it has to search along each of these paths until it decides on the most efficient route. And each of these loop structures is an extra search that has to be done. So one of the things we can do to help the performance of the game as we expand into larger colonies is reduce the size of our towns, but also reduce the complexity of the paths. And the best way to reduce the complexity of our paths is to avoid those loops. So let's go ahead and clear out some of those, and we'll just need to be mindful not to recreate them when we do additional construction in the future. Now if we come over here, it looks like we have another loop over here, so we can go ahead and clear out that. And another one right there, so we can drop that one off, and actually probably just clear out this road altogether. And I think that might be it for loops. We'd actually done a pretty good job of it. Now there may be times like when we're surrounding a water source like this where it makes sense functionally to have loops, and where we may decide it's worth it from an aesthetic choice as well. But with the goal of building a large sprawling colony with hundreds or even thousands of beavers, that is definitely something we want to do. Now, another challenge that we have is that this is a very large colony, and we're probably going to want our beavers to be able to maneuver quickly and easily through it. To that end, I think I want to take this bulletin post and move or remove it. So let's go ahead and place down a different one nearby, and we'll set one up. Where can we set this? I think right there is a good choice. And then we can tear down this one. And what that will do is let us place down a new building that will give us easier access across the distances of our city, and that is these zip lines. So we can go ahead and place down a zipline station. I had the size of the building wrong. Okay, we can place it in this direction. We can place down a zipline station just there. And then we can place down another one up here. And I believe, yeah, so when our zipline stations are close together, the existing ones on the map will point an arrow at any structures that they can connect to. So here, the first zipline station we're building can connect, but as we move farther away, that zipline or that arrow disappears, which means we can't connect at this range. We can right there. So let's see if we can't find a place that'll give our beavers easy access to this zipline station. So we could build there. That'll work. And then we can set up a path to it. And what that'll do is give any of the beavers who work back in this area a quicker way to go back and forth between these stations. Now, one of the things I've noticed is that these stations only have 2 connection points. So we can go ahead and establish a connection there. And so with that zipline established, we can start to see beavers traveling back and forth on it. And it is both as the crow flies, so it follows the hypotenuse and saves a great deal of travel time. But they actually move faster as well. It's not just about traveling there. It looks like they actually travel slower if they're hauling something. I wonder if that carries over. Yeah, so they're slower in general when they're hauling something, but they travel very quickly when they're not. Now, of course, that doesn't help the beavers who live over on this side, but we can fix that by setting up a zipline station over here as well. So let's go ahead and do that and make sure that we are in range of our previous one. Right there. And then we can add a connection right there. So that will allow beavers to travel up and down the city. Now, one thing I've noticed is that the zipline stations only have the 2 connection points. So they can be linear, and we could even have multiple ones. So we could have another zipline station here that branched off in a different direction, for example. But we can't connect that to this station. Each station can only connect in sort of a linear fashion. All right, let's go ahead and get that last zipline station built up. And that is excellent. All right, the next thing I want to do is start to restructure some of our farmland. Now, I do want to ultimately replace all of the structures down here with more farmland. I want this to be sort of a lush, fertile farming region, and we'll probably continue that up to where we are right now. And so I have our water production and sorting district up here, and then our fertile farmlands all around it. And then as we move further back, we'll introduce our industry. So we might have our woodworking district up here, and then metalworking up in the hills, bad water processing, and of course we'll be drawing iron from the mines up above. Now, in order to do that, let's go ahead and clear out some of these extraneous buildings. We no longer need these water pumps. We're not using them for anything, so we can go ahead and clear those out. And then I think this floodgate is also just kind of extra right now, since this water is kind of a permanent feature of the land. Now, I do like having our cooking buildings and food storages down here, but I think these small water tanks can probably be cleared out. But that'll free up this land for us to clean up some of these pathways and use it for additional work, either additional farm fields or for food storage or whatever we decide. Now, to that end, I do think I want to move these 3 water tanks, or rather remove these 3 water tanks. I think they're good water tanks, but as we don't really need to be drawing water from down here as well, so we can clear that out. I think it makes sense for us to have a large water tank near our houses, and then mostly otherwise have large water tanks near where we are pumping the water. And so you can see right now our pumps are idle because we simply aren't consuming enough water. So let's set up a large water tank right near our houses so that beavers who are just waking up can go ahead and have a nice drink of water. And once that's done, and then we can go ahead and delete these 3 water tanks down here. And of course that water can be diverted into that large tank. Now I also want to start removing any buildings that aren't related to farming or farm life down here. I'm okay with the herbalist and the tapper shack. I'm okay with the food production buildings. Eventually we'll get rid of the industrial district and probably even move the science building later on. But for now I think those are all okay. I do think we should remove our builder's hut, or rather move our builder's hut. We do want to employ the extra builders, but right now they are in the way of our farm expansion. So let's go ahead and set up a new builder's hut up here, right next to our hauling post, which we can also expand our workforce because we have spare workers. And then we can delete this builder's hut. And that is looking good. Now we do have this double lodge here, and I like the idea of having the double lodge, but I wonder if this is not the right place for it. So let's go ahead and place down a couple of double lodges here in the water and connect them up with roads. And then we can delete this double lodge. We might have some homeless beavers for a time, but they'll move in to our new lodges very soon. And then I want to clear out this area to make it a little bit more efficient for our farmers. I really want to have large fields here and then have the sort of supporting food processing stuff nearby. And I think we can run that back in this section we'd set up back here. I think we can also... how do we want to do this? So we want our main road. I think having the main road run back here. So let's move our teeth grindstone, set up a new teeth grindstone somewhere else. Grindstone. And this can be over near our housing. Delete this one. And connect our roads here. Then, so that creates a main thoroughfare along this line and along this line. So we can take our bakery and our food storage and move that elsewhere. So we have carrots, grilled potatoes, and bread all back here. Let's go ahead and both expand our storage as well as move it and set up large storages back along this road. And then I think we can... this is another circular path here, so we actually want to delete these paths. Go ahead and delete that path. And then we can set this one up to hold carrots. And then another large warehouse back here. This one will hold bread, or this one can be grilled potatoes, and this one can be bread. All right. So with those done, then we can clear out this warehouse. And just demolish these buildings. And we also need to set up a grill and a bakery. Our grist mill will need power, so it can stay over there for now. But we can go in and set up a grill and a bakery over here. This grill will make our grilled potatoes, and this will make... Once those are both constructed, then we can go ahead and tear down these buildings. And this area has been cleared up for additional land usage, which is fantastic. I wonder if we should also move our pathway over here and just expand our farmland. Like our farmers have a huge area they can work with. So actually, you know what? Let's take down this zipline. Let's see. Can we, if we build a new zipline station right next door, will that connect, or is that too far? Let's find out. So if we disconnect that line, we place down a new zipline station. Yes, so we can actually move this zipline station over to right there, and then still connect just like that. And that way, this has a much nicer sort of boundary to it. So we can run that road out there. And then, I wonder, can we actually delete paths? Will they still function if we delete the path? Do ziplines count as a path in that way? Let's find out. So let's delete this road here. And yes, so ziplines actually count as paths, and that is fantastic. So that actually frees us up quite a lot. It means we could have a zipline connection over here and not have to worry about having the dam. You know, we could expand our farmland onto the other side of the river and just have quick, easy access for it. I actually wonder if that's worth setting up now in order to do that. And then connect this one right there. And then once that gets built, we can clear out some of these other paths on the side that are a little extraneous. At least clear the path that crosses the river there to ease pathfinding. And that also opens up from this path. We can see how far and how long of a trip it is to each area, and that zipline line is so much more efficient. It's tremendous. All right. Now it looks like grilled potatoes are a big ticket item for our beavers. We're banking up carrots like crazy. We're also getting a good amount of bread, but they love the grilled potatoes, and we aren't producing enough to satisfy our people. So let's see what we can do to improve efficiency there. Oh, it looks like our berry warehouse is here. That's something else we could clear out a little bit. And actually, I think if we remove this rooftop gardens and all of this, then that gives us a larger field and a little bit more pleasant access to this region. And we could put that rooftop garden on a different building over here, either on some more houses or even potentially up on top of our large warehouses. So that is something else we can do to clean things up and just make things a little bit nicer, a little bit more sensible here. So let's set up a new rooftop garden, and yeah, we'll set it up with a path structure over here on these. Like so. And then this whole area, we can just clear out all of these buildings. Clear out our berries. I think we have, yes, we have a medical tent under there that we'll need to replace, but otherwise we can clear out all of this section and all of this section as well. And then delete this and place some stairs so that they can get up to the rooftop and that, and run the path up there. And now we can put in that rooftop terrace up here. And hey, we could even put in a medical tent up there as well. And I wonder if there's another decoration piece we could put up there that would be helpful. Is there something that they like or enjoy while they visit? I also like the idea of having lanterns around the place. So wherever we have someplace with easy access that we can set up lanterns, I think that'll look really nice along the city. Let's go ahead and set... What are we missing? Scarecrows. So we're not getting scarecrows. I think it's okay for us to have a scarecrow up here, and that'll help the people in these houses. Anybody who visits the rooftop terrace or the Lido will also get scarecrow access. We can also run a path along under here and connect it up on that side, and that will let us just delete the paths. These paths. And let's see. So let's set up a path right there, and that way we can free up these paths, clear out this one as well. And that allows this to be just a large continuous farm field. Now I think to work that large of a farm field, we are going to want another farmhouse. So let's go ahead and set up another second efficient farmhouse right there. And now that I think of it, I think we probably do want the path on this side rather than over here, because they're all going to be coming from the housing right there. So let's go ahead and clear out the path right there. We can clear out these wood chopping flags. And yeah, so now let's expand our potato crop. So going back to potatoes, we had said that our grill can process essentially 2 potatoes an hour. It's 0.5 2 hours, but we'll call it 0.5 for easy math. So 2 potatoes an hour with a 16-hour workday. That means that we can process 32 potatoes per day. Now, potatoes take 6 days to grow. So if we want to process all of the potatoes we're growing, we need to be able to provide 196 potatoes or potato plants in order to fully satisfy one grill. So let's see how many we have. Let's go into planting our potatoes, and we currently have 64 potatoes. So we can expand our potato field, and we could do another 7 by 8. So that would be 56 more, which would put us at 120 potatoes. And then we can expand to 136. And then I think the rest of the area over here, I want to expand our wheat crop. And so let's see. I think we can just delete these roads because there's not really anything. We can move this medical bed to be somewhere else. That's the only sort of structure left on this part of the map. So we can go ahead and delete that and all of these roads, as well as all of these roads. We'll keep our dam there. We can delete the path across it. And then we can plant wheat in this area. We can go ahead and just do a huge wheat field, fill out the rest of this area. And that will give us plenty of food, all the food we could possibly want. And there is still more room to expand later on. We could extend the roads under here. Once we clear this out, place down another farmhouse and build up over there. We could also potentially use this area to access the river if we want to do some river-based farming. And I think that sounds good. And actually, now that I think of that, let's do that. Let's use this zipline station to set up a aquatic farming district on this side of the area. This is going to give us a ton more food. We can set up local storage for it over here, and potentially whatever additional grilling we need. Now, this is a little bit extra at this time because we have plenty of food. We're not short on food by any sense of the word, but it helps. It'll boost our beavers' well-being and will give us more of a buffer when we want to expand later. So let's go ahead and set up an aquatic farmhouse over here. Set that up right there. And we're going to need a pathway down into the river, I believe. So we can set that up as well. This aquatic farmhouse, once that pathway is built, I think, yeah, should give us access to most of this area. And I think with that done, we can plant some crops. So we can plant spatterdock and cattail. Now let's take a look at these. I believe one of those is done in the grill. Yes, so we can set up a grill for one, and the other one is in the bakery. So we would need a grist mill. Yeah, so the grist mill would take the cattails, turn it into flour, and then the bakery would turn the flour into crackers. We'll start with just grilled spatterdock right now. And so let's set up, how far can we reach? We can reach over here. Let's go ahead and tear down this water wheel. Don't think we need that there anymore. And let's plant some spatterdock. Essentially on the entire left-hand side of this. Let's see where, double check where we can go to. So we can go right to here. So we will go to spatterdock there and extend it that way. And that will be our first aquatic plant. And then on the other side, we can go all the way down to about halfway down this. And so when we are ready for cattails, that is what we'll harvest there. And actually, I don't see any harm in planting those now, even if we don't get to being able to harvest or make use of them yet. So now that that is done, we're going to need some additional storage. So let's set up a couple of large warehouses for spatterdock. There. So this one can be for the raw spatterdock, which is there. And then this one can be for the grilled spatterdock. Actually, I think this one will be for raw cattails. Cattail roots. And then I'll keep expanding our storage sort of closer to home, closer to the houses, or where the finished products end up. So we can set up a storage over here for the grilled spatterdock. Grilled spatterdock. There. Now, in order to accommodate that, we're going to want to make sure we have plenty of haulers. We can expand the number of haulers we have. And I think that should be good. All right. This is already looking like a much more neatly organized and very pretty city. I'm very pleased with the changes that we've made so far. But there is more to be done. So let's keep at it. I think we can keep this Lido over here. Delete some of these extra paths there. That's another thing. It's a very small change, but across the city it can add up. Is if there's an extra path that doesn't lead anywhere, then that eventually, when a beaver, say they're going from their house and they're deciding on a path, they'll start branching out in every direction, and they'll even go all the way across this river before finding that this path terminates. That's how the sort of pathing algorithms usually work. And that means that this whole path is sort of extraneous right now, and that it is costing in calculations within the game, but isn't providing any benefit because we haven't done anything up there yet. So batteries are hard at work, and our science, oh my gosh, I haven't even looked. Our science has just exploded. We're at 20k science. That is crazy. All right, well, let's work. So let's take a look at some of those. So some of the things I had seen were that these other monuments take a huge amount of science to unlock, and I don't think we're ready for those. Those are huge construction projects. Just the material costs are insane. But since we do have upgraded plank production, we might be okay to set up the brazier of bonding here, which I think would help. And then just to make things a little better, let's go ahead and take down the farmer monument and rebuild it in the same place, but rotated, so that it gives us a nice view of the farms with the other monument right next door. That is gorgeous, and we can expand the farms across the river eventually, and set up this sort of central area of the map as our primary farming area, farming district, as well as our water processing district, and then build up additional sort of sub-colonies elsewhere around the map as we see fit. While we're building up that last monument, I've been looking at this field, and it is too messy. I don't like this batch of sunflower seedlings here. I don't like the weird shape of the wheat, so I think we're going to clean that up a little bit. And what we're going to do is just unmark the wheat planting area to, I think, about here, and just dedicate that for potatoes. And then we will unmark the planting area here and dedicate that for wheat. And then over here, we will have a region set for sunflowers. So let's go ahead and plant sunflowers in that region. I think we may have to wipe out mark these resources for deletion as well. So I think if we do that, and then that, and that should work. It's going to take them a minute to clear all that out, but once those are cleared out, we'll be able to replant in those areas. Just keep our fields nice and organized. Plant wheat through here, and plant sunflowers. We got rid of the roads, so we can't even get over to clear these crops. We'll go ahead and take care of that in short order. So are these crops too far? Can the farmers get to them even if they're not close by? That is the question. They certainly can to plant. We'll have to see if they can handle it for harvesting. And then there's also, of course, the challenge that we don't have access to, storage or the demand for these. So part of the reason that this wheat is sitting in the field is that these farmhouses are full of wheat, and our storehouse is full of bread, and our bakery is full of wheat. And so we don't need more wheat. So they're not harvesting it. They're leaving it in the fields until it's needed for harvest. All right, so let's go ahead and set our last crop over here, which was sunflowers. We can set that right there, and that should be good. All right, so I think that looks a lot better. I think that potato field is going to be the main work location for these farmers, but that farm will be served well by these. I'm not sure that we actually need 3 farmers at each. I think we can do it with 2 farmers at each and set 1 to prioritize planting and 1 to prioritize harvesting. Yeah, and that'll be good. All right. Well, I think that's where we are going to leave it for today. I think with the new monuments, the new crop fields, and the town expansion across the river, things are looking good. This part of town is looking so much better. There may be more I want to play with around it, just some beautification things. So for example, we might run a fence post along here. I think that would look good, and we could potentially do the same back here. I think that looks good. And we could also set some lanterns along the roads. And these aren't necessarily going to be functional in terms of improving our beaver's wellness. These are just aesthetic for our own personal benefit. And we also want to make sure we're not blocking off any construction paths we might want to make or place later. But I think particularly at night that will make things look a lot better for our beavers. Light up the town. Might be something we can find something like a reshade to play around with and improve the graphics quality and settings later on. But I think that is where we are going to leave it for today. I'm really pleased with how the town is shaping up. I think it's looking a lot better, and I think we can continue to work on some of these things and improve them later on. For example, we might want to put down a barrier that separates our crop fields a little bit more, especially since we are overflowing on wheat as it is. We don't really need quite so much wheat planted. we could put down fences or hedges that will sort of mark the barrier between those areas. But for now, I think this is where we will leave it for today. I'd like to thank you guys for spending a few minutes with me here in the world of Timberborn. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Leave a like if you have, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. My name is Dakoba, and I hope you have an epic day. I'll see you soon.